Welcome once again to Auto Mondial, the weekly home of all the latest motoring news and reviews. This week, Subaru's enthusiast-centric sporty saloon returns stateside.
We've also got a head-to-head between electric and combustion with Audi's latest mid-size SUV.
Plus, Bentley's Flying Spur gets a refresh for the modern age. But is it still a timeless wonder of the automotive world?
That is all coming up. First though, the news.
And the top story this week comes from Fiat as the Italian manufacturer unveils its newest pasta in the form of the iconic Cinquecento. In other news, after the previous government pushed the sales ban on new internal combustion engines to 2035, Labour has now decided to reverse the move, bringing the ban back to its originally planned 2030 date. According to the Transport Secretary, Heidi Alexander, the government has launched a consultation with industry heads to discuss the potential of a wider range of vehicle types being permitted between 2030 and 2035 alongside zero-emission cars. Previously, only plug-in hybrids with significant all-electric range were to remain on sale alongside BEVs after the ICE ban. But with traditional combustion still dominating the market, a smoother transition to all-electric may well be in order. With the likes of mild hybrid models currently omitted from the plan, we will make sure to keep you up to date on the consultation's outcome once a decision has been agreed.
Last year, we checked out Audi's all-new mid-size SUV, the Q5, as it dropped its coupe roofline in favour of a more spacious and traditional hatch. Well, now the Four Rings is returning to the SUV with a sloping rear end in what it's calling the Q5 Sportback. Oh, and what's this? Yet another Audi SUV Sportback with near identical looks in the Q6 Sportback. Though look beneath the surface and you'll notice one major difference, with the 6 instead powered by an all-electric drivetrain. Yes, from now on, Ingolstad's range will fill each market in both internal combustion and all-electric form, with the former dominated by odd number model names and the latter getting even numbers stamped to its boot lid. Certainly a confusing sight when glancing through the Audi lineup, it does provide the perfect opportunity to compare the latest EV tech with a more traditional powertrain in what will be a big year for all-electric vehicles.
With modern manufacturers doing all they can to remove individuality from their cabins, both the Q5 and Q6 get the same interior space in all their be-screened and unbuttoned glory. Everything, once controlled by a physical switch, is now hidden somewhere in one of these 3 touchscreens menu. So inside and out, the Q5 and Q6 Sportback are very much similar in the real world. But how do their core powertrains compare? And which should you get? Well, let's begin with the motor industry's long-standing benchmark when it comes to power and range: internal combustion. The Q5 Sportback is available as a mild hybrid 2-litre, pumping out 200 brake horsepower in either petrol or diesel form. The latter will be particularly popular for those looking to utilise the model's 2.4-tonne towing capacity. Matching that 2.4-tonne payload is the Q6's range topper, dubbed the Quattro, getting 380 bhp to all 4 wheels thanks to a dual motor setup. The Quattro's 94 kilowatt-hour battery also provides juice to the longest range of the bunch, the so-called performance model with its rear-driven 306 ponies. Sitting at the Q6's entry point is a smaller battery with therefore greater range anxiety. Where the previous two models will get up to 400 miles from a charge, the standard car's 75 kilowatt-hour battery contains enough juice for just about 334. In the real world, however, we would estimate most will struggle to get above 250 to 300 miles on average. And while fast charging will take around 22 minutes to go from 10 to 80%, any longer trips outside the city will become tiresome with regular charger hopping. The Q6 EV definitely falters up against its gas-guzzling sibling when it comes to longer cross-country trips. But we also feel it's somewhat flawed about town, with the mid-size SUV shape making for a bulky, cumbersome driving experience in traffic. And while that same issue is true for the Q5, its fuel tank requires far less patience during pit stops, making it a fantastic option for longer journeys. Therefore, in 2025, we still recommend larger fossil-burning SUVs for outer city drives and a small EV city car for venturing into traffic. The less practical and arguably less attractive Sportback variant commands a £2,500 premium in either of the two SUVs. Meanwhile, at £62,500, the all-electric Q6 costs almost exactly 10 grand more than its combusting counterpart, despite the added inconvenience.
With its aerodynamically optimised sports car handling and a buttery smooth gear shift, not to mention its 324 brake horsepowers, the Honda Civic Type R is one of our favourite cars for tackling UK B roads. Its fiery 2-litre engine, coupled with its trio of exhaust exits and tight steering feel, give the Japanese hot hatch hero a true sense of personality in a world of sterile automobiles. However, there is one issue we have always had with the latest generation of range-topping Civic, and that's its cost. Coming in at £50,000, the famed nemesis to Europe's sporty compacts like the Golf GTI and the Audi RS3 now presents as a contender to more premium sports cars like the outgoing Cayman.
But what if you don't fancy spending near supercar money for what is essentially a practical family runabout with a few fancy performance parts? Well, here in the UK, that market is slowly perishing, it seems, with most models we would have described as staples of the class no more than a decade ago now only available in run-down second-hand form. But look over to the United States and one name that always got motorists' attention is still alive and kicking. This is the all-new for 2025 Subaru WRX. Taking the acronym made so famous by early noughties rally drivers and dropping the Impreza name, this performance-oriented Japanese four-door costs but a fraction of the Honda, hitting the market from $46,500. Now, unfortunately, you can no longer get an STI badged model like you could during the brand's rallying heyday. But what you can get is this TS version with just as punchy 271 brake horsepower going to all four wheels, as is tradition on a WRX badged Subi. That power comes from an equally typical 2.4-litre four-cylinder boxer engine. That means flat 4 to the non-initiated. And whilst a power-zapping CVT automatic is available as an option, the standard transmission is an involving 6-speed manual. Visually, we must admit that without the recognisable rally car rear wing, the latest hot Subaru does look a bit naked. But a mean front end, along with a taller stance and lower body protection for covering a bit of dirt, do keep us interested enough to jump on board. Inside you'll find a rather flashy cabin with blue Baru accents coating the seats and dash that perhaps don't show the same level of sophistication as Honda's newest Type R. Though turn a blind eye to the loud colours and you'll notice hugging Recaro buckets, a nice driver-oriented layout and a pair of nicely integrated screens with, as we feel is the case in any Japanese performance car, more driving modes than you could ever remember.
As we say, there is no denying that the Civic is more civilised on the inside. Furthermore, with about 50 more brake horsepower and unburdened by all-wheel drive weight, it is sure to perform better on track. But in the real world, where back roads aren't all that grippy and the fear of damaging your expensive bodywork is a constant, we would suggest that the Subaru may well be a better toy. In the UK, the Civic may well be a 50 grand car, but in America it is available from $47,000, closing the price gap to Subaru's WRX, which hits shelves from $37,000.
After the break, an all-electric Skoda SUV with eyes on the entry level.
Welcome back. Coming up, Bentley whisks us away to California for a look at the all-new Flying Spur.
For years now, the Skoda Elroq has been the Czech manufacturer's sole all-electric offering, and as a result has gained quite the following. The mid-size all-electric SUV presents minimalistic looks and a very pleasant and spacious cabin, all for just £39,000. But albeit cheaper than most of its rivals, the Elroq is still a spendy model with bulky dimensions. So what if you fancy yourself something a little smaller? Well now, Skoda has you covered with its second ever all-electric release, the Elroq. Unveiled at last year's Paris Motor Show, the Elroq sits on the same platform as its bigger sibling, but gets more compact dimensions and, crucially, a more affordable price tag. This newest entrant to the electric crossover segment is available from £31,500, placing it competitively in class. By its own admission, Skoda is targeting the likes of the Renault Scenic E-Tech with this new model, and straight away sitting some £6,000 below its French rival. You can see why Skoda has its eyes set on the larger Renault. But we see the Kia EV3 as a better competitor to the new Elroq, the South Korean model equally a fresh budget alternative to the all-electric crossover scene.
The EV3 is available from £33,000 and gets funky styling, similar to other all-electric Kia creations. Under that boxy shape, you get one of two battery options: the standard 55 kilowatt-hour unit, good for 270 miles on a charge, or the long-range 78 kilowatt-hour model, capable of 375 miles. Regardless of the battery you choose, your EV3 gets a single motor setup on the front axle, putting around 200 brake horsepower to the floor. Inside, a simple design makes for a breezy cabin that makes up for the car's sloping roofline, with rear seats getting modest headroom. Meanwhile, sitting towards the top of its class, the EV3 gets a commendable 460 litres of boot space.
Commendable is certainly the right word, but it's not enough to challenge Skoda's Elroq, which provides an astonishing 470 litres behind the rear seats. Moreover, a slightly flatter roofline does mean rear passengers get marginally better headroom, plus an additional 18 centimetres to the wheelbase does the job for providing both rows of seats with a bit more legroom. Visually, the Elroq's cabin is very Skoda, omitting the industry's move towards simplicity and instead providing a highly ergonomic layout. In total, 3 different battery options are available for the new Elroq, though we would suggest the entry-level Elroq 50's 230-mile range may be a bit short. Instead, the Elroq 60's 260 miles of juice better competes with the similarly priced Kia. Meanwhile, the longer range model's 360 miles may not be worth the extra money, given the Elroq's primary function of daily commutes and weekly shops. That little bit more spacious and practical for less money. As a tool you will use on a daily basis, we like the prospect of Skoda's Elroq versus the Kia EV3. However, with optional extras filling the check specification sheet, if you are looking for a few creature comforts without added cost, the Kia EV3 will surely fill your criteria.
Symbol of luxurious innovation and exclusivity, the Mercedes S-Class is a go-to first-class lounge on wheels for the rich and famous. Sitting both the driver and rear passengers in complete comfort and offering bundles of performance, especially in AMG-tuned 63 form, there is no wonder why it is still just as popular as when it first appeared on the market in 1972. Though hitting the market from under £100,000, this is a car that any old worker could pilot, even with their pocket money. And so if you want yourself something a little more exclusive to flaunt the cash you made banking last year, perhaps this is more up your street.
Say hello to the all-new Bentley Flying Spur. And don't worry, as with its £250,000 starting price, you won't have to worry about sharing the same model with a member of the working class. What a relieving thought. Just like the equally refreshed Continental, the new Flying Spur gets what Bentley calls its ultra-performance powertrain. Now, to those not entrenched in Bentley's naming conventions, that means it gets a 4-litre twin-turbo V8 strapped to a further plug-in hybrid unit, the whole thing amounting to 770, leading the British car maker to call this latest creation its first ever 4-door supercar. And in all fairness, the British boffins aren't that far off, with that all-electric torque sending the Spur to 62 from rest in just 3.3 seconds. Keep it pinned and you'll reach 177 miles per hour. Not bad for a living room on wheels. And no, that's no exaggeration. If anything, it's an understatement, as we have rarely seen materials as fine as these in our homes. Up front, a timeless design does away with garish screens, instead hiding its tech behind nicely upholstered panels and under the driver's bezel. This particular car gets high-quality leather decorating much of the soft surfaces, but Bentley boasts near-endless personalisation options, something we would enjoy putting to the test. 3 sound systems are available in the new Flying Spur, though if you're releasing £250,000 on the standard car, you may as well go for the top 19-speaker name specification. Where the cabin has received a great deal of work from its predecessor, the Flying Spur is pretty much unchanged visually from the outside. It's a long, premium saloon with a collection of attention-grabbing design pieces, ideal for cruising through Knightsbridge or Manhattan. Overwhelmingly large 22-inch wheels, recognisable Bentley front end, and the footprint of a Navy battlecruiser, the Flying Spur has all the road presence you would expect.
By contrast, Mercedes' top executive saloon offering gets looks that blend in subtly alongside other models bearing the 3-pointed star with its sleek, more compact exterior styling. As you would expect, that does leave S-Class passengers with less room for leg stretching on longer journeys, but at least you won't be mistaken for a loud musician on your way to your important business meetings. More showy models are available in long wheelbase form, adorned in Maybach upholstery and flashy design pieces. But at this price point, there is no denying that Bentley does opulence just that little bit better. Unlike the Flying Spur, the S-Class buyers get a long list of 5 powertrain offerings, dominated by 3-litre 6-cylinder engines in either petrol or diesel form. At the entry point is a sub-300 brake diesel, while the more powerful S580 is available in either standalone petrol-burning form or with an additional plug-in hybrid unit strapped on it. The power-hungry will no doubt prefer AMG-tuned S63's 4-litre V8 with no less than 790 brake horsepower. But as much as Mercedes' top saloon tries, it will never truly match the Bentley Flying Spur's ability to offer organ-crushing performance and buttery smooth comfort. And that is what makes it such a special creation in 2025.
Next time on Auto Mundial, the Mercedes SL Class gets all sorts of perplexing modifications with Formula One inspiration.